friend. You're listening to the Sustainable Bodyworker, the podcast for massage therapists who want to grow thriving, purpose-led businesses without the burnout. Here we talk about nervous system aligned business strategy, pricing that makes sense, client work that doesn't deplete you, and how to build a career that actually supports your life. I'm your host, Gretchen Popp, massage therapist, mentor, educator, and recovering overachiever. Let's get into it. Hey there, welcome to the very first episode of the Sustainable Bodyworker. I'm so glad you're here. I am so glad to be here as well. This podcast has been on my heart for a very long time. It has taken me years of lived experience, so many breakdowns, pivots, chronic illness flares, and a whole lot of trial and error. And eventually success that actually feels good. And now to reach the point where I feel like I've had something truly valuable to say to this community and a position to be able to step up and talk about it. And that's what this space is for. Now, to be clear, what I have to share is not polished perfection. I still make mistakes all the time, and I'll likely be sharing those with you here in real time wherever I feel it'll be relevant for you as well. But part of what has helped me get to this place in my life and business has been being able to witness other people achieve really great things while still sharing their humanity. And I hope to bring a lot of that to the table too. I have a lot of that to share. And I will be also sharing my experience living the hustle culture life, but I will not be promoting it. There really is a lot to gain from the grind and living that experience, but there's also a lot at risk, and I'll share my experience with that too. The stories of burnout I've experienced, the challenges I've experienced on this quest for success within the massage therapy world. And my hope is to have a lot of honest conversations about what it really takes to build a sustainable, values-aligned business as a massage therapist or body worker, primarily without burning out, ever giving up on yourself, or feeling like you have to become someone you're not in order to get there. I've walked in those boots. Those boots don't feel good, and I've seen so many other people walking through those boots as well. So if you're one of those people who's starting to feel tired of chasing the next newest modality, or trying to feel legit in a sea of specialist practitioners, or constantly feeling like you're just almost there, but never quite, this podcast is for you. I'm glad you're here. If you happen to be overwhelmed by the business side of things, but you are so freaking ready to just figure it out in a way that doesn't break your body or your spirit, but you can't necessarily quite figure out what that is for you, this podcast is for you. I promise you there is a way. Maybe you are super intuitive, super skilled, super passionate, but starting to kind of wonder whether you can actually have a career that supports your energy and your finances and your growth and your truth. I promise you this podcast is for you as well. But before we dive in, let's just take a moment to land here together. So wherever you are, maybe you're driving the car, walking, folding some laundry, laying on the floor between clients, just take a moment to check in with yourself. Take a breath in through your nose and out through your mouth. And just allow your eyes to wander and name 3 things you can see. Try not to overthink it. There's no wrong way to do this. Just notice. Now bring your awareness to your body and see if there's a sensation calling for your attention. It could be an obvious one, could be subtle, maybe a temperature or tingling. Maybe just notice the simple weight of your body being supported by the surface that you're on. And just feeling that, nothing to change, nothing to fix. Just giving yourself a moment to be here fully. And we'll take another big deep breath in together, this time with a sigh on the way out. It's a great nervous system trick. I hope you did that with me. Let's begin. So, I want to start out this episode by sharing something that I see all the time, and maybe it'll sound familiar to you. A massage therapist is hitting a wall in their practice. Bookings slow down, or maybe all of a sudden, multiple clients cancel their upcoming appointments right when the bills are due. Their body hurts, their enthusiasm is fading, they're starting to question their skills, their competency. Maybe they even begin to question whether or not to get a much more reliable, sustainable job, become an employee for a little while. They might be thinking to themselves, I just need to take another training, or this other new technique I saw might help me stand out, or maybe I'll finally feel confident if I get certified in that new thing. And listen, I am all for learning. I am a continuing education provider myself. I nerd out about technique just like you do, but I just want to start by saying something here. I believe that all of the additional modalities and certifications can become a form of self-doubt avoidance if we're not careful. Because, hear me out, most of the time, that urge we have to sign up for another modality or add another tool isn't coming from clarity, it's coming from fear. Fear that we don't already know enough, fear that we're going to get left behind in the next massage trend wave, or fear that we don't have the right to start teaching our own classes maybe, or to charge more without adding something, or to change direction or something like that until we've earned it. So I've seen it so many times before, and I'm guilty of this too. We just keep on stacking trainings and certifications and specialties onto this list, and we're spending thousands and thousands of dollars trying to prove our worth to others, but maybe even more to ourselves. And so we stay stuck in a holding pattern. We're always almost ready. We're never actually stepping into what we really want. So I'm curious if you might be someone who's spent the last few years or maybe even the last decade bouncing from class to class, course to course, without much changing in your business. And when I say changing, sure, you may have moved locations and you might have more tools in your tool belt. Maybe you charge more than you did before, right? Like there's growth, there's change happening there, but it still feels the same way. Now, look, this is not a character flaw. This is a nervous system coping mechanism. And we'll be talking a lot more about this in the coming episodes because I could talk about this for hours. And I want to bring on a lot of guests to look at this with different perspectives as well and not just share my beliefs on this. But to circle in on the frame of mind I'm going to be coming from is this idea that you've been sold the story that more skills will equal more success for you. And yet, I see this time and time again. You still find yourself undercharging, overgiving, overbooking, and just undersupported and depleted. And of course, you're frustrated about this. Of course, you're exhausted. Of course, it's challenging to fit in any self-care. But the answer isn't another class or a new technique or an additional skill set. What most of us need is not more information, it's integration. You need to be able to feel safe to show up fully with what you already know. I promise you, you have skills to change people's lives with where you're at now. You need to be able to believe that you're allowed to grow beyond the table and add more than just hands-on offerings. And we can talk about that more in upcoming episodes as well. I'm super passionate about that. You need to stop overworking because you're scared of being too expensive or you want to keep it accessible. And I will share more about that as well, how by increasing our prices, we actually have the ability to make it more accessible for those who actually need it. And I'll go into that in a different episode as well. But this is where growing a successful and sustainable business becomes more emotional work than any of the work that I've seen many other mentors and coaches talk about before. And this is where strategy allows space for healing first. And this is where so many of us get stuck because no one is teaching us how to navigate this part. Until now, that is, you're here, and we're going to really get into it in the coming episodes. So we're going to get real juicy. But first, I want to share a little bit about my experience with this personally, because I was in the same place, and I have coached and supported so many incredibly skilled and highly trained practitioners who have this same pattern. This is not exclusive to a specific type of person. So if you see yourself in this, I want you to know that yes, I see the challenge and I've been there before, but you're not alone. Now, I've seen this before by the experience I've had auditing so many massage therapy websites. I've helped redesign and audit them, and I've seen firsthand how many of us have those long, long lists of certifications and modalities and specialties. And I know this is an issue that we all experience. We keep on adding more and more and more. For me, it was engraved into me through my school experience. I did go to one of the more intensive massage therapy programs in the United States at this time, and we were really encouraged to explore specialties before even graduating, getting a specialty in something. And there were so many options to choose from and internships to immerse us in the experiences, and it truly was a wonderful experience. But I left with the knowledge that there is always one more skill to learn. And not only that, but often it's a requirement of our licensure to keep taking classes. Depending on where you are, you probably have a continuing education requirement. And this is beautiful. I'm really all for continuing education. I don't have a problem with that. But my issue with it is it plays into the belief that we're not enough now. And this belief system is inherent in people who go into the healing arts. And it's often a root of people-pleasing tendencies, which gets satisfied through this work, which is a blessing and a curse. There's so much to learn from this, so much to unpack here. And I'm really excited to go so much deeper as we spend more time together in this podcast. But myself, by the time I was about 10 years into my practice, I'd gone so far down that path of not enoughness that I even felt the need to add on additional outside certifications to bolster my massage therapy expertise, because that on its own just wasn't enough. It didn't feel like enough. So I spent 4 years studying herbal medicine and then nutrition, and then I went on to become a yoga instructor, and then I became a serial coaching certification student, ended up with 4 coaching certifications. And it was when I was in my 5th one that everything I learned, how to support people and notice the patterns, I realized I was doing it again. It took me that long to have it put in my face that I was doing it again. But upon analyzing this pattern and witnessing it in so many of the massage therapists I was coaching, I realized that this didn't come from a lack of skill, even though we all had kind of the same mantra of, if I could just add this one last skill set to my practice or learn this one new thing, right? Does this sound familiar? For me, I feel my ego being like, I feel called out. But the truth is, you're not lacking skill, you're lacking structure. So if you've ever taken a new modality and you've had the high of that new skill only last a few days, and you realize that when you return to your practice that all the same problems are still there, or maybe it's a couple of weeks or months into it, but it's more of the same with a cool new tool, you're not alone. And that's what no one tells you. Most of the pain points in our careers aren't about massage skills. The issues that we're having collectively are about business models, our boundaries, messaging, belief systems, alignment with our true desires and what we want out of this life. Now, you can be incredible in your techniques and skills and still burn out if your systems don't support you. You can be a total wizard in the massage room and still feel invisible if your nervous system collapses at the thought of being seen. And you can have a huge heart and still resent your clients if you're afraid to enforce your policies or even have policies. And none of that makes you bad at your job. It just means that you're ready for a new phase of your career, one where the foundation isn't more certifications, it's clarity, boundaries, and belief that you are allowed to thrive. So if you've been stuck in the cycle of just one more course and I'll finally be ready, I want to gently challenge that today. What if you are already ready? What if it's not about learning more, but learning how to trust what you already know? Because that's where your real growth begins. So let me take you back to the moment I realized something had to change in my business. At the time, I had a very busy massage practice. My books were absolutely full, overfull. I was respected in my field, and on paper, I had completely made it. It all looked sparkly shiny on the outside, but on the inside, I was absolutely running on fumes. I was dealing with chronic fibromyalgia flares that made it really hard to even get out of bed. Some mornings I was bedridden for quite a while at one point. I was trying to raise a child with a chronic illness, which meant constant doctor's appointments, so much worry about her health, unpredictability about the next steps. I was holding space for clients, running a business with multiple employees, managing a household. I was doing it all while quietly unraveling outside with a big old smile on my face. And I kept thinking to myself, if I can just push through this, if I can squeeze in one more session, if I hustle a little longer, I can catch up, and that's when everything will work out for my business. But there's no catching up when the structure that you're operating in is built on depletion. So I remember one moment that absolutely changed everything for me. My daughter was about 2 years old. It was supposed to be a day off, one of those rare, precious days where I could actually be present with her, take a break, just be a mom. And we were at the playground. I remember I was sitting on the edge of the mulch where I could watch her climb. And I was not playing with her. I was absolutely glued to my phone because a client had just canceled their appointment for the next day. And I was so strapped financially at the time that I absolutely had to fill that spot. I could not just be like, oh, there's an extra hour and a half of my day. I needed to fill that spot. I needed it not just for extra income. I needed it to pay the bills. So I sat there on the edge of the playground while she was playing with someone else's kid, what was supposed to be sacred time, just texting as many clients as I could think of who might possibly want that spot, see if they could take the session, if I could just make this work. And then I just broke down. I started crying right there on the side of the playground in front of the other parents. Luckily, it wasn't a very busy day at the playground. But what it came down to is I realized I was losing something that I couldn't get back. It wasn't just time. It wasn't just money. It was these memories with my daughter, the presence that, while she's 2 years old and being able to play on the playground, I was not present for that. And I hated myself for it. And I hated that this is what it took to make my business survive. And that was before I had systems, before I had automations that made a lot of this easier, before I knew that I could actually build a business that supports you instead of stealing from you in this way. But that moment didn't give me a magic solution. It cracked something open in me. And I knew from that moment that I couldn't keep pretending that this illusion was sustainable. And that was the beginning of everything that I teach now. But in order to move past that, I had to unlearn a lot. I had to unlearn that success is the same. You get success out of working harder is what I'm trying to say. I had to unlearn that saying no meant that I didn't care enough. I had to unlearn that the belief that my value came from how much I sacrificed. I've seen that one in a lot of people. I had to let go of the idea that I could fix my business by leaning into more modalities or just working harder, doing all of the things all the time. And what I really needed was to understand how to build a business that didn't rely on my body being 100% all the time. Because let's face it, my body was not 100% all the time. And that's a natural thing. Even when you don't have chronic illness, we're not always at 100%. And I needed to know how to create income that wasn't tied to showing up in person. I needed to feel safe enforcing policies and boundaries. And I really needed to heal my relationship with visibility because I had big ideas, but I was really scared to be seen as someone attempting these things. And there was the possibility I could fail at them. And that is very real and scary for a lot of people. And it was terrifying for me. But then came the shift that changed everything for me. Back in 2020, some of you guys have been with me since then. In the middle of everything falling apart with COVID, I launched my first online course. I'd been sitting on it for 2 years, just kind of imposter syndroming my time away. And when I released it, it wasn't perfect and it did not make me rich overnight. It covered a bit of my loss of income for that period. But what it did do is it gave me hope, and it proved something that I deeply needed to know, that I could earn money in a way that didn't drain me or make me sacrifice my time. It taught me that I could teach other people the things that I already knew in order to scale and step out of just mentoring the small team of employees that I felt safe with at the time, and that I could create something that lived beyond my hands, that it could go farther. And once I saw what was possible, I couldn't unsee it. I started reworking everything in my business from that place. I created structure around it. I added passive income streams. I built a much stronger team and completely transformed the way that we impacted our clients. And that's a big piece of what I teach as well. I created programs that allowed me to guide other body workers through the same transformation as well. And that is where I get really super excited about how everything has shifted now. But the biggest shift wasn't in the 3D strategy or the typical business guidance that you get. It truly was the inner permission to stop doing things the hard way. And that's the moment I started building a business that supports my life, not the other way around. And I know that that sounds like a really unrealistic dream. I get it. I had that belief system for a really long time as well. And it caused me to hit so many walls along the way. Like I said, this was not overnight, and I'm still on the journey. And oftentimes facing these limiting beliefs also plunged me into negative patterns, and it's part of the process. So if you're in that place now, maybe a similar place riddled with anxiety-provoked meltdowns in public, on the edge of burnout, or even just feeling the spark of joy starting to go out, I want you to know you are not alone. You're not behind in this. You're not lazy, and you don't have to burn everything down or start over completely. You just need the right tools. And not physical tools like gua sha or cups or fancy massage guns, though those are all super cool. They're not what's missing in this scenario here. You need to heal the belief that struggle is your default setting. And you need support that doesn't gaslight you into thinking that burnout is normal or worthwhile in order to get to a certain level. You deserve a business that feels like a match for your nervous system, and we'll talk about what that even means so much more. You deserve a business that's a match for your values and your personal evolution. And that's the path I've been walking. I've stumbled over some things along the way, and it's totally normal, and I'm still stumbling every once in a while, but I'm here to turn around and point out those things to help you be able to skip over them. I would like to invite you to step on this path with me. Because once I started building a business that felt like a better fit for me, which involves launching online offers, creating scalable and automated systems, saying no without spiraling into anxiety, I began coaching other body workers to do the same. And something really interesting started happening from there. I started noticing something about the people that I was working with. So, two people could have the exact same resources. Maybe they have the same guidance around pricing, or the same proven online course launch process, or the same scripts around client communication. And one of them would absolutely just take off, gaining traction, feeling empowered in their business. At some point, they're just completely, they're gone, they're great, they're doing great, they don't need help anymore. They completely shifted the trajectory of their business. But the other one would stay stuck, they'd procrastinate, they'd doubt themselves, they'd ghost their own momentum. And they'd even end up ghosting the coaching calls because a part of them knew they weren't showing up for themselves. And I recognized that pattern because I'd lived it myself as well. And despite what some other people might say, it wasn't about laziness, and it wasn't about a lack of discipline. It was a nervous system response. So simply put, strategy without safety doesn't work. We can all know exactly what to do, have it step by step in the simplest checklist in front of you, have someone film a video with step-by-step instructions for you and walk along through it, and you still not do it. So many of us have been there. I have been there. Maybe we know we should raise our rates, but our whole body contracts at the thought of losing one client, or maybe one client just challenging the new price. That's terrifying. Maybe we know we should set clearer policies, but we absolutely crumble when someone pushes back because we're scared to be seen as difficult. We know we should teach that workshop or launch that online course or finally put ourselves out there in a way that we've been thinking about for a while, but we don't, because at the root of it, our nervous system, our subconscious mind, sees visibility as a threat. And here's the thing that no one tells you in business school or continuing ed training. Until you feel safe being seen, supported, and successful, you will subconsciously sabotage anything that feels like a risk for you. But this is where I get so excited about hypnotherapy. I recently got certified in hypnotherapy, and I've been utilizing it on myself for longer than that. And for me, hypnotherapy changed everything. Now, definitely not in a light a candle and make a wish kind of a way, but truly in a biologically grounded nervous system rewiring kind of a way. I'm going to spend so much time in the coming episodes outlining this more for you, but to keep it simple right here, right now, I'll just share how it specifically helped me reshape this pattern for myself. It helped me unhook old patterns, specifically around people pleasing and perfectionism, which were keeping me from making changes in my business, which would actually lead to my greatest joy. And joy has been such a key word for me over the past couple of years, and it has really led me in truly beautiful places. Hypnotherapy also helped me reframe my beliefs around money and worth and allowed me to tap into my first 5-figure months in my hands-on practice. So that's just so much more than affirmations or just shifting a viewpoint. It's truly subconsciously changing the amount of money I was allowing myself to earn. We'll talk about that. For me, it also helped me stop associating visibility with vulnerability or rejection and just start putting myself out there so I could learn how to be better at it. Being able to show up live on Facebook and Instagram is something that took me a really long time to get comfortable with. And most people sabotage their attempts at doing this after the first few times because those subconscious beliefs really, really break that capacity for just stepping in and learning. And really helped me step into real leadership as well, not just as a practitioner, but as an employer, educator, and a coach now. And I started to see the same thing happen with my students. Once we started incorporating the tools to rewire the nervous system's programming into the business coaching, things that previously felt impossible really started to flow. And I noticed that hypnotherapy became the quickest way to achieve these results. And there are some really cool examples that I want to share with you. There was one person who I was working with for years, feeling super stuck, finally launched their group program, just went all in on it. All of a sudden, like I was talking to an entirely different person. Someone who was previously terrified to enforce their policies this one is really great. As soon as they confidently charged a no-show without shame, they miraculously received multiple new client bookings within hours of enforcing that policy. There was another person who had doubted for a while that they could lead a team and just really allowed themselves to stay in overwork. Finally hired their first employee, and now I think she's got a team of 5 or 6, something like that. And these breakthroughs happen not because they downloaded a new spreadsheet or went out and handed out flyers or coupons or whatever else people are telling you to do, posting a Facebook ad offering huge discounts. It was because we addressed the real root of their resistance. And this is what I learned the hard way. Mindset work without structure leaves you floating, but structure without mindset work leaves you frozen. And all of this without embodiment and true neural reprogramming only leaves you in a state where you know what's wrong and you simply witness yourself making the same mistakes over and over and over again. I was there for quite a while. You need all of it put together. You need grounded strategy, real tools, real systems, real structure, but it doesn't end there. All of that's great stuff. You can learn that from any successful coach who's done the thing that you want to do. If they've done it before you, you can learn their system and learn what worked for them. But you also need deep nervous system alignment. You need belief work, boundary repair, identity shifts. This is so much more than just mindset work where you acknowledge your limiting beliefs and maybe do a gratitude practice every morning or journal a little bit. The rewiring happens through embodying it and letting these patterns completely reroute in your system. And that's why I center hypnotherapy in pretty much everything that I teach now. Because once you access the part of you that already knows how to lead, how to speak clearly, how to be seen, how to build, everything falls into place. That version of you already exists. And hypnotherapy just helps you connect with them more easily and experience what it feels like to be them so that you can operate from that place so much more naturally in your real life. And it really is that simple. We'll go into the nitty-gritty a little bit more, but just know that you have access to that version of you already. And we just need to try it on so that we know what it feels like. And so we can step out into the world with those shoes on. So if you've personally been stuck in the loop of I know what to do, but I can't seem to make myself do it, please hear this. This is not a sign that you're unmotivated. It's not a sign that there's anything wrong with you or that you're broken or anything like that. Stop being mean to yourself. Stop talking to yourself that way. This is just a sign that your nervous system doesn't yet feel safe with the next level. And that's not a flaw, it's just biology. But it's also something that you can shift. And when you do, everything will open up for you. So let's talk a little bit about what you can expect from this podcast. This podcast is intended to meet you there in the mess, in the rebuilding, and in the what if. Every episode, I'll be showing up to share the real tools, strategies, and stories that can help you shape a practice that supports your body, your life, and your growth. We're going to talk about a lot of different things: how to create passive income as a body worker, how to regulate your nervous system as you grow, how to price your services in a way that makes sense for your business, not just arbitrarily or shooting for the 6-figure thing because everyone else is talking about that. We're going to talk about how to step into visibility even when it terrifies you, and how to move beyond being just a practitioner and into leadership roles, teaching roles, online course creation, and so much more. And I'm going to do it in a way that respects your time, your brain, and your nervous system without unnecessary hype. We'll cut through the fluff and just make sure to give you something which will help you understand these patterns a little bit and opportunities to rewire it for sustainable success in your massage practice. Thanks for listening to the Sustainable Bodyworker. If something resonated for you today, grab your free breakthrough session, which includes a custom hypnotherapy track to help you unlock the next level. Grab it now with the link in the show notes. And to hear more, hit subscribe. We'll see you next time.